We're going to go to a phone interview right now with Connie, a friend of mine I grew up with as children. We grew up in the little town of Wickham, Georgia, and we're also going to be talking to her grandson, Christopher, who has leukemia. So we'll go to the phone lines now. Hey there.
Hi.
Okay. Gotcha.
Christopher is dying to talk to you.
Well, good. I can't wait to talk to him. Is he ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Yeah. Let me talk to Christopher.
Hi.
Hey, Christopher. What you doing?
Fine.
Hey, Christopher.
Okay, now he got shy.
Of course. That's the way it goes. Well, let's talk for a minute tell me about what all you guys went. First of all, introduce yourself on the phone. I've got Connie, who's a childhood friend of mine. But tell everybody a little bit about your situation.
I have a 3-year-old grandson. He's my daughter and son-in-law's only child, and he was diagnosed with leukemia the week of Thanksgiving.
And he's been going through treatment pretty regularly here now. It seems like it's growing in intensification right now, the amount of treatment he has to go through.
He's in the phase right now that's called consolidation. You have induction, which is your very first part of treatment when you're diagnosed, which is pretty intense. And then you have consolidation, which is pretty intense too, can last for 4 to 6 months, and it depends on what type of leukemia you have. And then at the end of that period, you go into maintenance, which can last for 2 to 3 years. Really?
And with the type of leukemia he has, it's a specific kind, and it's fairly treatable, isn't it?
It is. He has ALL, which is acute lymphoblast leukemia.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most common type of childhood leukemia. I think 80% of children who have leukemia have ALL, and it is very treatable. The success rate is usually in the 90 to 95% range.
Well, that's a good prospect. Now, do they have? They probably don't, but do they have any idea what causes this in children?
It's an abnormal growth of white blood cells in the bone marrow. There's no why some kids get it and why some kids don't. It's like any other cancer. Some people they have those genes, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And he seems to be doing really well with the treatments overall.
He is doing really well for what they had prepared Lacey and Justin for. We were really expecting him to be a lot sicker than he's been,
mm-hmm.
and to have a lot more visits to the emergency room and overnight stays in the hospital. But he has handled the chemo very well. His are staying really high for someone who's on leukemia or who's on chemo.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of helped keep him a little healthier than what we were expecting.
Do they know why certain children do better than others on this treatment?
No. Some, like chemo makes some kids very sick, and it doesn't make him sick. So we haven't been given an explanation as why. We're just really thankful that he's in that group that's handling it so well.
Right, yeah. And he looks really healthy. Now, you've been really involved, too, in doing a lot of fundraising and things like that. I know that you run. That's one of your passions anyway. But tell me about some of the things that you guys have done. I know they even threw a party for Christopher at one point to help raise funds for his treatment.
They did. It was a couple of weekends ago. Some of Lacey and Justin's friends had gotten together and really felt like they wanted to do something to, help out with expenses that insurance doesn't cover, because the treatment is really expensive. So we had a benefit, had a lot of businesses in the community donated things that we raffled off, had lunches, so we sold lunches, had just a lot of people in the community came out and just participated, and it was a really good benefit for them. It gave them some funds that are really going to help with some of the medical treatment that he's going through. But Justin's employer has been really great. They did a collection. They actually did shave off some of the guys, shaved their heads, raised money and did that. And they actually made a donation to the Children's Hospital who's having treatment.
Oh, very cool.
And, we did a couple of 5K runs that were just raising money for that hospital, not specifically for Christopher, but for the hospital and for all the children that they're treating.
Yeah. Now, this past weekend, did you run the whole, I guess it was a 5K maybe you ran this weekend. Did you run that with him in the stroller the whole time?
I did.
I thought that's what it looked like.
I did. I walked with him a lot in the stroller, but I haven't ran with him pushing it in a long time, and 35 extra pounds made about 6 minutes difference.
That's probably really good exercise, though.
It is.
Did he do good the whole time? I mean, how did he do?
Oh, about halfway through, he told me he was tired.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he was tired of.
You're the one doing all the work, right?
Yeah, he said he was tired.
He looks really good, though. I mean, his hair, he really hasn't lost a lot of hair so far.
But, they told him it was going to come out, so they shaved his head. Justin keeps his head shaved, so that was a really cool thing, he thought. And then it thinned a little, but it didn't fall out, but they're letting it grow back in now. But there's a chance it could fall out now that he's in this next phase of treatment.
Yeah, okay. Do you think he's where he would talk to me now?
We'll see.
Okay, let me try.
Talk to Alicia now. Tell her what you're playing with.
Hey, Christopher.
Sticking his tongue out at you.
He didn't want to talk to me, huh? What did you go do today, Christopher?
Yeah, and he was,
Of course. All the trouble we went to is try to set up set this thing up, and he's not going to talk. That's the way it goes. But he's doing really good. He sounds like he's really spunky, and he's a really strong kid.
Yeah, I know when we go for treatment and see some of the other kids who aren't doing as well as he is, it's sad to see that, but it really makes you thankful that he's doing as well as he is.
What are some things they do at the hospital with him to try to distract him or to make the process easier for him?
Of course, they have toys and TVs and video games and movies in every room. So when he's actually having his chemo through the infusion, oh, you want to talk now? We'll talk.
Hey, Christopher.
Hi.
How are you?
Yes.
What you been doing today?
I'm playing.
You've been playing. Did you go to the hospital today?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you do at the hospital today? Did you have your chemo treatment today at the hospital?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do when you go and have your chemo? Do they give you candy or?
Yeah.
And did you watch a movie?
No, in the doctor.
Do you have a favorite nurse that you see when you go there?
Yeah.
What's her name?
It's Sandy.
Miss Sandy?
Cindy.
Cindy. Okay, gotcha. Miss Cindy. And what does Miss Cindy do for you when you go there?
I did my chemo.
Yeah, you did your chemo, and with Miss Sandy, she helps you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's very polite. You said yes, ma'am. Good manners. Did you did you take toys with you today?
Not today.
Not today. Did you watch a movie or something? What do you do while you're doing the chemo? Do you just sit there bored?
I was watching Monster Truck.
Monster trucks.
How big were they?
They were that big. One of those. They were on the TV. And had big one over the cars.
Did they have like mouths on them and stuff? Did they look like monsters? Were they green and red and yellow, or what color were they?
They were blue and red.
Which one was your favorite one?
The blue one.
The blue one?
Mm-hmm. Knucklehead.
You call it a knucklehead.
Yes. Knucklehead.
You calling your Nana a knucklehead?
Yeah, it's a knucklehead. I can eat it.
Why is she a knucklehead?
Because he's the picture, yes, Daddy.
I can't even understand.
I know, I can't either. So, hey, Christopher. Christopher, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So your Nana goes with you sometimes to do chemo. Does your mom and dad, your mommy and daddy, do they go with you sometimes too?
They don't have any Thursday.
Thursday. So you're going back again on Thursday?
Yeah.
Who's going to go with you then?
My daddy.
Your daddy. Did you think it was cool when your daddy shaved his head, when you had to shave your head like your daddy's?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you look a lot like your daddy. Do people tell you that?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
You're very handsome.
Yes,
Are you going to, I think that you're going to beat this whole leukemia thing, don't you think?
ma'am.
Yeah? I know you're going to be glad when it's all over with, huh?
I don't have to go to the party anymore.
Well, I bet you'll have a party when you won't have to go to the hospital anymore, huh?
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're doing so good with your treatment. I'm going to put you on the radio, okay? And your Nana will have to let you listen to it.
Okay.
All right, sweetie. You have a good day.
Bye.
Bye. Tell me a little bit about what you guys went through, your emotions, and what all you went through during that time, and just walk me through that process, because I know at first you thought it wasn't leukemia, and then you found out it was, and...
Right. When he first got sick, it was in October, and they first said they were sure it was leukemia. All the bone marrow aspirations came back negative. So you're sent home. You're told he has leukemia. Then you're sent home and said, he doesn't. And then a month later, he's sick again.
Why did they think that it wasn't leukemia? Once they had sort of told you that it was, and then they decided it wasn't, what made them decide that it wasn't?
He had no leukemia cells in his bone marrow. All the cells, the blood cells that came out of his bone marrow were normal.
And they thought it was a virus that was doing what?
They thought it was he had a virus that had just shut down his bone marrow, which is why his blood counts were so low.
Okay.
Because that was the initial problem, is that his blood counts were dangerously low.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the explanation that we got, because he did have a cold sore viral outbreak in his mouth.
Okay.
And so they thought that it was so extreme that it must have shut down his bone marrow.
Hmm.
So with a couple of transfusions, some antiviral medication, he looked a lot better. That had cleared up, and they sent him home. But then a month later, he presented with the same symptoms again. And this time, when they did just a blood count, they knew it was leukemia. He had cancer cells, in his blood, in the fluid then.
When he got sick the second go round, did you just have a knot in the pit of your stomach? Did you just know inside somewhere that that's what it was going to be when you went back?
Oh, I knew.
Yeah.
I knew. I remember, Lacey, I was at work, and she called and said that Justin had been home with him that day, and that he was taking him back to the Children's Hospital, and she was going to meet him there.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed at work and told her just to call me as soon as they got in, and got some blood work going on. So she called me, and she said it's bad.
Mm.
And I said, well, I'm leaving work. I'll be there in an hour. And I knew it was leukemia. There was no doubt in my mind. And you get a lot of emotions. I mean, first, I was past the disbelief,
mm-hmm.
because I had gone through that in October.
Right.
Where, this isn't happening. It's going to be something else. And so I knew it was. But then, I had a lot of anger. Why?
Yeah.
There's plenty of bad people in the world. Why this got to happen to my 3-year-old grandson?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's really selfish, but it's exactly how I felt.
No, I think everybody goes through. I mean, I think that's a normal reaction to it. It's, there's no rhyme or reason to what the suffering that we see in the world. It just happens.
And I was so angry. I was at a point that I couldn't pray.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just too angry. And, I felt cheated. I felt it was unfair. You watch your child suffer, and you're watching your child suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Not to lessen what Lacey and Justin are going through, but it's awful to watch your child cry and her heart break over her child.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
I have great prayer warrior friends, and they were praying when I couldn't.
Yeah.
And, we had a lot of good news along the way. And he was admitted that night, and I think that was on a Monday or a Tuesday. And he was admitted that night. Thanksgiving was on Thursday. We had Thanksgiving in styrofoam plates in the hospital room. But
I remember I was cooking all that. I was cooking all day that day, trying to send you pictures to.
That's right. That's right. We were living through your
right,
Thanksgiving, and Justin's sister-in-law, her mother actually cooked extra, and they brought us Thanksgiving. But he started treatment on Friday,
mm-hmm.
and they were in the hospital until that next Monday, and then came home, and that started the whole treatment round of his treatment, which ultimately will last about 3 years. Treatment is a little bit longer in boys than it is in girls.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, it's interesting that it's a little longer in boys than it is in girls. You just wonder what there's so little that we actually know about cancers in general. But I think the more we deal with them, the more we're realizing things that are patterns and normal. More you expect this for boys and this for girls, and you just wonder what they call it the practice of medicine for a reason.
Right, that's right, because you're practicing.
Yeah.